Right guys, so I'm just pretty much out walking the dog at the minute, and there's a few things I just need to get off my chest, and I'm actually going to have a little bit of a rant here because it's been a while since the game finished. Sunderland won, Arsenal 4, in case you somehow don't know. So that's pretty much me spinning Sunderland's defence out, honestly. But you know, you've had a better time of it than what I have, that's for fucking sure. And I don't care that I'm going to swear, because quite frankly this club deserves it after that. Right, first few things, right, I'm not going to talk much about the game, except that one of the things that really annoys me at this point, I am getting so fed up of watching this team constantly capitulate when conceding a goal. We were in the game for the first hour or so, right? And Defoe got the penalty and put it back to 1-1, at which point I got a smidgen of a chance, a smidgen of hope that we would actually go and get a result. And we never bothered to see it out. Not only that, but we decided pretty much, hang on, just spare me, Lily? Yeah, right. I'm just with the dog at the minute walking, so. The same time, right, we got back to 1-1 and we had a smidgen of hope, a smidgen of a chance of getting a result from the game, right? The second Giroud's first goal went in, the second Arsenal's second goal went in, second, that's funny. The second that Arsenal's second goal went into the back of the net, that was it. It was game over from the off. We never looked like getting back in it. Not only that, we conceded a third and a fourth. All three second half goals came within the space of 7 minutes. 7 minutes. How is that acceptable? And all those Arsenal fans, by the way, and I'm not having a dig at Arsenal here because, you know, they've had a lot to put up with to some degree, but nowhere near as much as what we have. Arsenal fans were going, is there a fire drill at 3-1, right? It's just a bit of banter. Okay, fair enough. But I'm sorry, I didn't hear any of your fans at 1-1, right? I didn't hear any of them when Defoe scored. And fair enough, you're not going to cheer when you've conceded a goal, fair enough. But the point I'm making, sorry, dog. There's a point I'm making here. If anyone dares have the audacity to have a go at our supporters for walking out when the second and third and fourth went in, that's because it's not new to us. We have watched this team constantly bottle it when they concede the first goal. You want a few examples? I'll give you a few examples, right? Tottenham 5, Sunderland 1 in the 13-14 season when we stayed up. Sunderland 1, Hull City 3. The second their first goal went in, we just looked dead. Southampton 8, Sunderland 0. Sunderland 0, Aston Villa 4. Sunderland 1, Crystal Palace 4. Sunderland 1, Norwich 3. Sunderland 2, Crystal Palace 3. Everton 6, Sunderland 2. Sunderland 1, Arsenal 4, right? We've had numerous times in which this has happened. Numerous times at all. Because I am done with it at this point. Why should I pay money to go and watch that team capitulate and throw away chances of getting points? Do you realise how many points we've thrown away in the last few minutes of games this season? I know we never looked like getting anything today in general, but you look at Man City away, draw 1-1, 85th minute, lose 2-1. Southampton 1-0 up, 10 minutes to go, draw 1-1. Palace 2-0 up, half an hour to go, lose 3-2. It's like 0-0 West Ham, 94th minute, lose 1-0. I'm sorry, but we're bored of seeing these guys capitulate every time. I'm really sick of it. Why should we pay? And I'm not the biggest Sunderland fan ever, by the way. Because at the minute, I don't have a season ticket. I go because one of my mates gets spare tickets now and again. And I go to it. But I'll tell you what those supporters, and it's not cheap, by the way, 400 odd quid for a season ticket in general, right? 400 odd pound. And, like I said, that isn't cheap. £400 at least for a season ticket. That's not including travel to and from the stadium, food while you're there, and then you're not even counting away games. Not even counting away games whatsoever, because the away games are even more expensive. You've got to pay the ticket to travel up and down the country, the travel, especially if you're going by train, it costs a hell of a lot more than what it does for the ALS coach, or the support association, whichever supporters coach you get. Food, travel, accommodation occasionally, the money that we pay constantly to this football club, and we get nothing back for it. Nothing back whatsoever. Now I'm going to put this in... Oh, my arms are aching now already. Right, I'm going to put this in context, right? Everyone say that Arsenal, for example, should be doing better. Arsenal's relevant because we just played them. Well, rather, we half played them. They turned up for the game. We just decided not to once the second goal went in. But the point I would make is Arsenal have had so many years of just finishing in the top 4 and finishing in the Champions League places, and they never competed for, league titles. Fair enough, I can understand why their fans would get frustrated. But then let's put this into context. Sunderland have one of the best stadiums in the country. I think it's like probably the 6th or 7th biggest in the country. We get our average around 40,000 fans every single damn week in, week out, To watch a team capitulate at the second the first goal goes in. Sorry, but if we don't deserve better than that, then I really haven't got a clue. Now, why on earth should I not expect better as a Sunderland fan? Why is everyone saying, oh, we should just accept that we're just going to be a team that's just going to avoid relegation every year? Why on earth should I accept that? Why should any of our supporters accept that? It ain't good enough. It really ain't good enough. And it's mainly because this is our 10th successive year in the Premier League, right? And we've done nothing in it. Nothing. Every single year is just, oh, I know, let's just stay in the Premier League. No, we'll not try and do anything in it that's worthwhile. No, just staying in the league is good enough. And it's not. And there's a couple of other things I'm going to put into context. The first thing is, when we lost to Crystal Palace, oh, that game really, really annoys me right now. When we played Crystal Palace, right, and we went 2-0 up and then casually thought we'll just bottle it and just lose 3-2 and not really see out the lead like any professional football club would have done. At that point, I put a video into BT Sport. They've asked me to do a few reaction bits in here and there. And mostly it's just me being depressed every week. But anyway, the point I made in that video was, this is our 10th successive year in the Premier League. Why do Sunderland not deserve better than that? And Rio Ferdinand was one of the pundits who answered my question. To be honest, he didn't really answer it. He didn't really understand the context of what I was saying, to be honest. So if somehow Rio Ferdinand's watching this video, this is what I meant by it. He mentioned that every single club outside of the supposed top clubs, top teams rather, if you like, basically say we deserve more, we should be doing better than this, and blah, blah, blah. Right. This is the context what I meant, Rio. If you're somehow watching this, you won't be. But anyone who was confused by that, this is what I meant. Sunderland, this is not our first, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth, even ninth. 10 consecutive years in the top flight of English football. 10 consecutive years. 10. Now, in that time, I've only been into football since 2011, right? But even I can know that's pretty atrocious. Sunderland have been in the Premier League 10 consecutive years. But the point I make, Leicester, Crystal Palace, Southampton, Stoke, until recently, Swansea, and Bournemouth have come up and overtaken us in quality. Bournemouth is the biggest example, and I have huge admiration and respect for Bournemouth. I love them to pieces as a club because they're an example. I like their identity. I like Eddie Howe. I like the style of football they play. I like everything. Everything they do is right. How on earth, though, are they a better team than us? How have Sunderland got to the point where promoted teams come up and do better? How is that acceptable? Again, 10 successive years. And we are still in the position where we are fighting relegation. That is not acceptable. It's quite frankly a travesty, a disgrace, an embarrassment that that's happening. It is a travesty. How on earth have we got to the point where that's happening to us? No wonder I think our fans expect better. And why shouldn't we expect better? Now here's another point. And I hate mentioning Newcastle, but they've done the right thing. They kept Benitez and have given themselves a very good platform for the future, right? However, at the end of last season, Newcastle were the ones to get relegated. I don't care what Newcastle fans say, right? I'm not having a dig at them. Sunderland mathematically sent Newcastle down. They helped send themselves down mainly because they made wrong decisions with the board and whatnot. However, Sunderland did mathematically confirm it. That can't be said otherwise. However, the point I'm making is, Newcastle were the ones who went to the Championship, who got relegated to the Championship at the end of last season. They get to keep Benitez. They've invested properly on and off the pitch, and invested money properly and have a bright hope for a bright future. Sunderland were the ones who stayed up, signed the players that helped keep us up. We looked genuinely a decent team at the end of last season. And yet then everything happens. Everything goes tits up. We have 20 injuries to our first team. Allardyce has to leave, albeit in different circumstances. Sunderland couldn't have done anything about that, to be fair. But Allardyce leave, we have to lose our manager. Newcastle get to keep theirs. Yet we are the ones who stayed up and in the higher division. No, that's not right. And like I said, Newcastle in theory, Newcastle had no right to keep Benitez because they were in the second division. Benitez is a much better manager than the Championship. But Newcastle kept him. And that's why I didn't want him to stay. I didn't want them to get him in the first place because I knew he was going to sort them out. And they're doing so right now. Why are we not having that? Is that really too much for us to expect? No, I don't know. No, I don't think it is. And this is what I mean. And another, so that's annoying. The Newcastle got relegated and are doing better than we are. I mean, obviously they are because they're winning games. But that's what I mean. I mean, they get a load of support. I mean, everyone praises Newcastle, how fantastic the support is. And in general, it's a lot better than what a lot of other clubs are, to be fair. But, they got relegated, but they've also kept Benitez and, they're winning games every week. And they've signed players who fit the club, and they've got rid of players who clearly didn't want to be there for them. Sorry. But Sunderland's official attendance, it definitely wasn't that at the end of the game, but our official attendance was 44,000 today, and that was a few hours ago. It might even have sold more, because I saw that tweet this morning that said we had 44,000 sold for the game against Arsenal. And between me seeing the tweet and the kickoff, we probably sold more tickets. That's for a team that's underachieved every year. And yes, staying in the Premier League is underachievement for Sunderland, because we should be doing a lot better than this by now. Sorry, we should be doing way better than this at this point. But even still, 44,000 or so, or at least over 40,000, which is our average crowd, for a team, for the teams I mentioned, like Leicester, Palace, Southampton, Stoke, until recently Swansea and Bournemouth, we have a bigger stadium than a majority of those sides. We have, well, I don't know how good their fan base is, but we have an excellent fan base, as evidenced by the fact that we came and watched a capitulation, basically. And that's for a team with 2 points and has nothing to shout about. If that's not fantastic support, I do not know what is, regardless of the circumstances of which those tickets were sold or being used up. It's so annoying, really, because why shouldn't we expect better? Now, another thing I'd expect better in, a lot better in, to tell you the truth, is Palace. This is the biggest kick in the stomach for me. Crystal Palace, who 3 years ago, before Tony Pulis saved them, looked atrocious, basically. They looked a very poor Premier League side or a Championship team competing in the Premier League. That is what's annoying us, because they've now got to the point where they are paying £30 million for Benteke. They are paying £30 million for Christian Benteke. How have we allowed them to overtake us like that? That's a player we should be competing for. Now, the last point I'll make in this video. For me, Moyes is not the problem. And I'm getting quite bored of the amount of times having to say this, to be honest. Moyes simply and purely is not the problem. Because although he's not blameless, and there are definitely things that he should be doing better, he is not the common problem. It's been deeper than that for years and years now. It's been deeper than that for years and years now. For me, it's the owner and the board, because they've constantly made wrong decisions and haven't bothered to rectify them. One thing we lack in the Premier League massively is pace. Here's an example, right? So how on earth could the club have constantly failed to sign players with pace who are quality? How? I mean, not even players who are quality, right? I mean, you look at Adama Traore from Villa, for an example. I wouldn't have minded signing him, because at the very least he would have given us some speed and a quick option. And he actually looks an alright player, I think. But even then, that's my point. So how are other recruitments, how are other clubs recruiting much better than we are? There's something seriously wrong at the board level. Now, as far as I'm concerned, Ellis Short is the huge problem, because I don't care what people say. People say, oh, he's putting money in to cover the losses that we're making, blah, 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 blah. Okay, well, here, let's put an example of why we're making losses, right? First of all, we're staying in the Premier League every year, so far up to this point. We have to be getting more money than what we've been spending. Because if you look at it historically, in the context, we haven't actually spent that much every season. Net spend, right, let's look at it. 13-14, we spent probably, let's say about £20 million on 14 new players. Half of that was made from Simon Mignolet's sale to Liverpool. So net spend-wise, that was around about £10 million. Now, I know I'm not including signing-on fees, but we're not told what those signing-on fees are. So I'm just going by officially what I can remember. The following season, when we signed Jack Rodwell, if you take out Jack Rodwell, who was £10 million, and you have defending him, by the way, but I have to admit he's got to start influencing games a bit more. Anyway, I do think there's a player in there, but still, that's a different debate altogether. But you look at the season, the summer we signed Rodwell. Take him out, we hardly spent any money whatsoever. The following season, we spent around, it was £22 million net spend apparently, but again, so it was probably about £30 million altogether we spent. But yet a third of that was made off the sale of Connor Wickham. So in comparison to other clubs, we didn't actually spend that much. So how the hell are we making losses every year? And if we're also just in the Premier League, it's because we've signed players that clearly aren't good enough. I think generally as a squad, when the fully first team squad is fit, Sunderland are definitely better than a good few sides in the division. But as of right now, we're not. As of right now, we are far from it at this point. So, as far as I'm concerned, Ellis Short, right? If you're not prepared to properly fund Sunderland to the point where they are competing with Palace for the likes of the players that they're signing, like Christian Benteke, James Tompkins, Andros Townsend, or even Southampton for Nathan Redmond, players like that. If our record transfer is £13 bloody million, when Palace spent about £13 million for Townsend and then smashed it again, nearly doubled that to break their record to sign Benteke, that's not acceptable. Now, at least from relegation this season, the debt theoretically would be wiped clear, I would imagine. But even so, what's the point in getting all this money if we're not going to see it? And I'm sorry, the money we get from TV deals and being in the Premier League should in theory, be going back towards strengthening the team. It's as simple as that, really. We should be using that to strengthen the side. Bear with me a minute. We should be using that to strengthen the side. And get a team that moves faster than Sunderland's defence does. That bike that's just gone past me. But that's what I mean. We should be using that money to adequately strengthen this team to a point where it's good enough. Or at least, competitive enough to where, the likes of Everton are doing. Anyway, guys, look, I'm going to leave it there because this is about 17 minutes long and it's just me having a bit of a rant, just getting a few things out there. Walking along with the dog in the woods. It's very nice, actually, at this time. But I'll love yous and leave yous there. I mean, I'm just done at this point. And I feel so disillusioned with Sunderland that I feel like I've recently just started a job. So I might as well put myself on shift for every Saturday so I don't have to watch us. That's how bad it's become, honestly. But, if Ellis Short's not... The last thing is, if Ellis Short's not prepared to properly fund Sunderland to the point where they should be at, then sell the club. Simple as that. Sell the club and sell it to someone else who is actually going to be prepared to put some actual money into the team. Anyway, guys, I'll leave you there, and oh god, I'll see you later. Bye. And sorry for me rambling on so much, but these are a few things I just need to get off my chest, so see you.